a regular meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is now 4 p.m. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Member LeBeau,
Present.
Member Lopez,
Present.
Member McQueen-Lejean,
Present.
Vice Chair Thomas, and Chair Hernandez.
Here.
Let the record reflect that ex officio member Kendall Nelson is absent.
Thank you. We will now hear public comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, does anyone have a public comment?
No public comments.
Okay, moving ahead. Agenda approval for water agency. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda? If you've had time to take a look at it. I'll
Move
take
to
a
approve.
motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
All right. Conflict of interest in Levine Act disclosures. Do any members of agency have any conflicts of interest to disclose for the listed closed session items on the agenda?
Sorry, I meant to remove that, but it's just for items on the agenda.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, just for items on the agenda, does anybody have a conflict of interest to disclose? Okay, very good. Hearing none, we'll move on to presentations. Come on up. Nicole Richardson and Charlotte Lopez Holyfield will be delivering a presentation on the Delta Conveyance Project. And they representing the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California and the Calleguas Municipal Water District to the, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Hernandez and members. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to come speak before you today. We really appreciate it. As Chair Hernandez says, I'm Charlotte Lopez Holyfield. I'm the Manager of External Affairs at Calleguas Municipal Water District. Presenting with me today is Nicole Richardson of Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And we're happy to talk with you for a few moments about the Delta Conveyance Project, which has had a long history, a winding history in California. We'll give you an overview of the status of it currently, some efforts to move it forward, and its criticalness to the water supply in Ventura County. So I just want to take a moment as a refresher to remind folks what Calleguas is. We are Ventura County's largest water supplier. We are a water wholesaler importing primarily state water project water from Metropolitan. We have 19 purveyors serving 3/4 of the population of Ventura County, so that's 650,000 people. And we are an independent special district governed by a 5-member elected board, and we've been around just about 75 years. So you can see our service area there, primarily southeastern Ventura County. Of course, you are an entity we deliver water to as well. So just a snapshot of our purveyors. They include cities such as Port Hueneme, Camarillo, Oxnard, County Waterworks, special districts, investor-owned utilities, mutual water companies. We have a wide variety of public, private, large, small, you name it. It's probably a purveyor of Calleguas's. So the path of imported water to Calleguas is really important to understand why the DCP is so important. It comes from 400 miles away in the Sierra Nevada, and it comes down to us through the State Water Project, which is a series of pumps, pipes, aqueducts. If you've driven in the Central Valley, you've probably seen it. That gets down to Metropolitan Water District, which then delivers it to their 26-member agencies, of which Calleguas is one. We import that water through a mile-long tunnel in Chatsworth, and then we distribute it out to our purveyors. So, and then they, in turn, send it to residents and businesses. We don't serve them directly. So the State Water Project was built in the 1960s. As I said, our share of it is 400 miles away. The total length of the project is 700 miles, and it serves 2/3 of the state. So 27 million people in California are dependent on the State Water Project in whole or in part. And this is why it's so important that it be modernized and optimized for Calleguas's service area. You know, in the 60s, it needs a little refresh, let's say. The Delta Conveyance Project is a way to do that and really optimize this system so that we can take full advantage of that conveyance system to bring water to our area. Because the percentage of water that originates from the State Water Project is 100%. 100%. So Nicole will talk more about Metropolitan sources being both the State Water Project and the Colorado River, but here in Calleguas's service area, it's 100% of our supply. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Nicole to give you more detail about the project, and happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good afternoon, Chair Hernandez and directors. I would now like to present a high-level overview of the modernization project known as the Delta Conveyance Project. I'll go over its benefits to Metropolitan and our involvement in the project. And before diving into those details, I'll go into more detail about who Metropolitan is. Okay, so Metropolitan Water District of Southern California is a state-established cooperative that provides water to its 26 member agencies throughout our 6-county service area, which includes Ventura County, all the way down to San Diego County, includes Orange County, San Bernardino, LA, and Riverside County. And then each member agency is represented on our 38-member board of directors. Cayugas is one of our member agencies, and Director Jackie McMillan is one of our directors who represents Cayugas. We import water from 2 sources, so Colorado River via the Colorado River Aqueduct system, which we own and operate, and then the from Northern California, the Sierra Nevada area, through the State Water Project, which is operated by the California Department of Water Resources. And Metropolitan is the largest state water contractor of the State Water Project. We are one of 27 public water agencies that take from this source. Metropolitan does have a state water contract for 1.9 million acre feet, 1.9 million acre feet annually. However, based on the allocation of that year, state water project allocation, we only get a percentage of it. So this year, or at this point, we have 35%, that's the allocation, so we have 35% of 1.9 million acre feet. And that will change and fluctuate based on precipitation levels, regulations, whatever drought conditions, things like that. And so together, these 2 imported sources support a $1.6 trillion regional economy. And then the Delta Conveyance Project, often referred to as the DCPA, which will probably refer to it moving forward, is a proposed state project that seeks to modernize the aging Delta infrastructure. So it will modernize the state water project. The project involves the construction of a new 45-mile tunnel system and 2 completely new Northern Delta intake facilities. So they're diversion projects that take water from the river and then into the tunnel, the conveyance system. The tunnel would divert water from around the delta, so to avoid the central delta communities, and then it would go into the state water project conveyance system. And if operational, the project will be able to capture and move water during really heavy storm events or snowmelt runoff, and then deliver it to reservoirs and groundwater basins throughout the state. And the purpose of the DCP is to strengthen the long-term water supply reliability of the state water project and protect the supply from extreme weather conditions. So that includes seismic risks, earthquakes, sea level rise, atmospheric rivers, which are very heavy storm events too. So after more than 20 years of planning, the Delta Conveyance Project has been refined and redesigned. DWR has welcomed and encouraged extensive community input, which has helped them address local impacts and environmental concerns. DWR has also produced hundreds of studies, technical reports, engineering reports, modeling analyses, and the list goes on. And because of all of these data, the qualitative, quantitative data, we are able to summarize the benefits of the project into these 4 categories: climate resiliency, seismic resiliency, operational resiliency, and water quality reliability. So to begin with the first one, future precipitation patterns are expected to result in more rain flowing through rivers. As we've seen, modeling has predicted that we're going to see shorter winters, and there's going to be less snowpack runoff, and we're going to see more precipitation in the form of atmospheric rivers, which is the heavy storm events. And so because of that, our state water project conveyance system has to adapt to the changing climate, and this is what the DCP will do. The DCP will enhance the system's ability to capture, move, and store water during extreme weather events. And this increased flexibility helps mitigate the effects of climate-induced variability in precipitation and runoff patterns, ensuring a more reliable water supply, not only for Southern California, for Ventura County, but also throughout the state. And then the seismic resiliency. So the project's design includes features to improve the state water project's resilience to seismic events, earthquakes. And then according to the U.S. Geological Survey, there's a 72% chance of a 6.7 or greater magnitude earthquake in in the Bay Area by 2043. And if there is a catastrophic event near or around the Delta, it would pose significant a threat to our water supply down here in Southern California. And as Charlotte had mentioned, we rely, in Southern California, Metropolitan gets 30% of the water from state water projects. So this is very significant for our region. By adding the 2 new intake facilities in the North Delta and constructing an earthquake-resistant tunnel, the DCP will reduce the vulnerability of water deliveries being disrupted by earthquakes. The project ensures there is continued water supply in the event of a seismic event near the Delta. And then operational resiliency. So state water project deliveries have declined even during wet years, and due to various fish regulations, as we've seen during the last drought. In 2023, for example, we had a lot of storm events. It was a really wet year, but we only received 50 to 70% of our allocation, and there were some disruptions in being able to deliver the water to Southern California. And so by constructing the Delta Conveyance Project, we will introduce more operational flexibility, enabling water managers to divert water from the Sacramento River, so from the Northern Delta, down around the Delta into the State Water Project. So, there'd be a better management on water flows, reducing conflicts with the fishery regulations in the South Delta, which will optimize our water deliveries during varying hydrological conditions. And then lastly, I wanted to emphasize the importance of the water quality reliability if the DCP is constructed. So it would improve the timing and location of water diversions. The DCP project helps maintain water quality standards in the State Water Project. The project minimizes the risk of water quality degradation due to factors like salinity intrusion and algae blooms, ensuring that the water delivered to urban and agricultural users meets health and safety standards. And also, if there was a disruption in the levees because they are aging, because of the north intakes, it would help divert water from the Sacramento River, and then it would go underground into the State Water Project. So if there is an issue with the levees, which would affect the fresh water in the Delta and create more seawater intrusion, we would be able to, the DCP would be able to avoid a disruption in delivering water supplies to communities that need it or who rely heavily on the State Water Project. And this is just a visual just to demonstrate what exactly would happen to the Delta if there was a major earthquake in the Delta or near the Delta. The blue signifies the fresh water and the red signifies salt water from the bay. And so if there is a disruption, a major earthquake, like I had mentioned that the U.S. Geological Survey had predicted, within 36 hours or within, 36 hours, yes, there would be, the whole Delta would be inundated with seawater, which would affect our deliveries to Southern California, the DWR's deliveries to Southern California. Okay, and this is just to show like theoretical diversions. If the DCP was constructed last year, and if it was operational last year, we would have been able to, or DWR would have been able to store and move 956,000 acre feet of water between October 2024 and June of this year. And so this is enough supply this is enough water to supply over 10 million people or over 3 million households for 1 year. And then as we experienced during the most recent drought, State Water Project supplies are impacted by extreme dry conditions that we saw during the last drought. And so as California faces more rain, less snow, and longer droughts, this capability to store water for future dry years will become more crucial. And this is the reason why the State Water Project adaptation strategy identifies the Delta Conveyance Project as the single most effective action for a sustainable water future. And it reaffirms that the Delta Conveyance Project is a key adaptation strategy to address climate-driven challenges to California's water supply. Okay. And so although the aging system faces serious challenges, there is a projection that there will be a 13 to 22% supply loss over the next 2 decades due to different risks. So whether it's extreme dry conditions, climate, drought, and major earthquakes. And then I want to go into a little more details in terms of how Metropolitan has evolved. So today the project is very different from the many iterations that we've seen the previous project concepts. To the state's credit, they have been very deliberate and thoughtful in engaging the public. They made a concerted effort to engage the tribal communities, opponents to the project, or people who are concerned with the project early on into these conversations. It's been, the very first iteration was like over 20 years ago, and so it's gone through many different forms, and it's been refined and redesigned. The project at this point has already undergone the CEQA process, and it was certified in 2023. At this point in the timeline, there's two things that it's going through the pre-construction permitting phase. So first, DWR has to seek water rights permit, so through the State Water Resources Control Board. So right now they're undergoing public hearings for their water rights permit. And then the second form of this, or second part that they have to complete is the certification for consistency. They have to submit that certification for consistency to the Delta Stewardship Council. And they actually did that on Friday. And so what this essentially is it's just to determine whether the project, the DCP, is consistent with the Delta Plan. And the Delta Plan is a strategy to meet the co-equal goals. So they have to complete, DWR has to complete 2 of those before any talks of construction are taking place. So they've already submitted the certification for consistency on Friday, and then they're undergoing the public hearings. Once all that is complete, Metropolitan they'll come back to all the state, DWR will come back to all the state water contractors, including Metropolitan, and ask for an investment on whether we would like to invest in the construction of the project. We won't do that until 2027 when all the permitting, all the studies, technical studies have been completed. But so far, we are supporting this phase of the project. We've already invested $300 million since 2020. So in 2020, we gave half of that, and then 2024, the board also voted to support the remaining part to fulfill the environmental review, the design, the planning, and permitting of the Delta Conveyance Project. So that will be ongoing until 2027, and then it'll come up for the board for a vote on whether they would like to participate in the investing in the construction of the project. And that's where we are right now. It's still going forward, it's still progressing, and we are just monitoring the progress on the state level. And we welcome any, that concludes my portion of the presentation, and Charlotte and I are welcome any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Richardson, and thank you, Ms. Lopez-Holifield, for your presentation. Does the board have any questions or comments? It's just a presentation, so we can do both.
Hi, I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair. Can you go back a couple of slides? You had some numbers, some percentage numbers of the water loss in the years, and I thought it was like 11 something to
13 to 22%.
13 to 22, something like that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. 13 to
Okay.
22.
13, 22%.
Okay,
yes.
so is that as of today or 2027? And if not, how does that number change as we approach?
So DWR released this type of study that if we don't modernize the state water project, we could essentially see a 13 to 22% water supply loss. And that's due to the different environmental factors. So earthquakes, due to certain things. I'm trying to think what else. The lack of precipitation, the fish regulations, which are impeding the DWR's ability to import water, deliver water to areas that need it the most. So the system is aging. It was built in the 1960s, and when they built it, they didn't factor in all the different climate impacts that would impact the existing infrastructure. So this is what they project for the next 20 years. There will be a loss. If there was a major earthquake, it would disrupt the system. But if this was created, for example, we would be able to capture and move water more efficiently. And I hope that answers.
Yeah, it does. One more question just for my own information. So you talked about the impacts if there were an earthquake to the delta and the saltwater intrusion. Is there saltwater intrusion now?
That's a good question. I think not to the, no. I'm not a technical expert with that,
Okay.
but not to the point where it's going to affect our treatment processes or
Okay.
anything like that. It's it's fresh water. So our treatment facilities are designed to treat fresh state water project water. If there was seawater intrusion, then we would completely have to change how we treat the existing supply. If there was a levee failure, what I've heard from engineers that it could potentially, it would be months or possibly years of not having this supply come and be delivered to us. They're constantly doing maintenance. I know DWR is constantly maintaining the levees, but we're not able to capture. If there was an actual earthquake, it could potentially take months or years for us to get the system up and running. But because if we have the north intakes, it would avoid that situation. We would get it from the very top of the river and then be able to funnel the water underground and away from the delta and into the existing state water project conveyance system. I hope that answered a little bit.
It does, and I want you to just attribute that question to me being able to go on your tour to the Delta and up north. So thank you so much for that.
Great. Any more questions?
I have a question. It said earthquake resilient. It seems like that particular area in California it has a high frequency of earthquakes in that specific area. So how is it earthquake resilient if that has it's near a major fault?
I think the materials they use are earthquake. The actual tunnel that they're creating is the Delta Conveyance Project is an actual 45-mile tunnel, and so it's in addition to the existing state water project. So the materials they're using are earthquake resilient, and they've done hundreds and hundreds of technical studies. They completed the CEQA process and everything, and so the engineers, much smarter than I am, they could better explain all of this, but they determined that it would be resilient in the face of a major earthquake based off the studies that they've made. And I think how they've done it they've had different alternatives when they did the CEQA process or the environmental review process, and they found the Bethany alignment, which is where the tunnel is located, is the best outcome for the project. So they looked at all these different alignments, and the Bethany alignment was the best one in terms of the fault lines and all of that. They took all of that into consideration. So that was part of the CEQA process, is making sure that they're complying with the surrounding environment. So yeah, I could also follow up with more specifics.
What's the total cost of the project?
It'd be upward to $20.1 billion. Metropolitan's portion is 47% of that, so it would be about a little bit over $10 billion, and it would be a phased approach. The finance department is working out the numbers if the board decides to move forward with the project on how we'll finance it.
So just for clarity, Ventura County receives its water from the state.
Yes, so we have member agents. Cayugas Municipal Water District is one of our member agencies. So we are a state water contractor. We have a certain have a certain allocation, and then we give it to our member agencies. So we deliver it to our member agencies. One of them is Cayugas, and then Cayugas delivers it to their water retailers, and then it goes to their customers.
But yes, Member Lopez, our water supply is state water project dependent 100% at Cayugas.
And that comes from the Sierra.
Correct.
Okay. So very little comes up from north.
Very little comes from Colorado River.
Colorado River.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Any more questions?
I just have one question. Besides Metropolitan, who else would be involved in making the decision about moving forward?
Yeah, so it would be the 26 other public water agencies, which are considered state water contractors who take from the state water project. So it would be Santa Clarita Valley Water District, it'd be San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. There's a number of them. Santa Clara Water District. There's a number. I don't have all the list in front of me, but there's 26 others, and they all have different portions. So we have the greatest portion, but some have like 5% or 10%, because they have alternative water supply sources.
Does everybody have to agree for it to move forward, or just enough to provide the funding to move forward?
I think that yeah, that's a good, very good question. Like for example, if during the pre-construction phase, DWR went to every single state water contractor to seek approval to invest in this phase, because DWR doesn't have the funds to support the studies, the pre-construction phase. So they had to go. So it has to be funded by the state water contractors. To my understanding, it has to be all of them. But if one doesn't come through, I don't think that the project is going to be unable to move forward. So I think it depends how it's all divvied up, the financing.
Okay.
Yeah.
More questions?
Have there been any studies on what the estimated impacts this will be on the Cayugas, like water rates or anything like that?
That's a good question, Member Lebo. As Nicole said, the financial analysis is ongoing. So there are no specifics quite yet. And the project has changed over the years quite significantly. So we want to be certain that this is, the final iteration, and before we can actually accurately predict impact on rates. So I'm just going to say it's a work in progress.
And then what are the biggest impediments, I guess, to this project going forward in 2027?
Yeah, it's a good question. We can talk about the political ones a little bit.
Yeah, there's some opposition. So there's some opposition. The Delta communities are opposed to this project for various reasons. I guess to name a few is there might be water quality, issues with the water quality in the Delta, construction, because the construction is going to be it's going to be very long. So there's going to be noise, air quality issues that they brought up. Also, the tribal concerns. I know protecting tribal resources when construction is actually taking place and making sure that they are protected when they do encounter an artifact of some sort. DWR has addressed all of these concerns in the various reports and studies and things like that. Specifically with the tribal concerns, they've worked with the tribal community. They've given them a seat at the table, and they've taken their concerns, and they've also said they were going to have a tribal community representative. So when construction is happening, they will be able to reach out to the tribal representative to help them with the process and protecting those artifacts, from my understanding with DWR. And then in terms of water quality and with noise, air pollution, I mean, there's going to be that with construction, but this specific alignment had the least environmental impact to the community. Additionally, they're also investing $200 million in a community benefits program because they understand the specific projects are going to directly provide a water supply for those communities. So they are investing back into the community by allowing them to apply for these grant programs. It could be anything. It could be water. It could be electrical. It could be any type of project, really. They would apply for it, and you could receive a grant funding for your project, for a local project. So they're trying ways to involve the community. They've welcomed a lot of feedback from them and incorporated that. That's why they've redesigned the project so many times, because they want to make sure that they're incorporated into it. But yeah, I think with other concerns happening in the future, I think litigation, there's going to be a lot of litigation, they're undergoing their public hearings, and there's a lot of comments opposed to the project. So that's all I could really say about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do any of our water reps here have any questions or comments based on what we've heard this afternoon? Any? Okay. You guys are probably quite familiar with this project anyway. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. When I heard you speak at VCOG, you had an ask at the end. So what can we do in the meantime? And we hope you come back and keep us appraised of what's going on and
We'd be happy
how it
to, Chair
progresses, how the
Hernandez.
project progresses. so-
Happy to do so. We have no ask of you today,
Okay.
but we reserve the right to come back.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thanks
Thank
again. It was
you.
great seeing you at VCOG.
Wonderful
At
to
VCOG
see
dinner.
you.
Yeah, thank
you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, moving along, we are now at the consent portion of the agenda. We'll consider the items on the consent calendar, which will be enacted in one motion unless an agency member has a request to remove an item for discussion. Any request to remove an item for discussion? If not, may I have a motion and second to approve our consent calendar?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Second. Madam Clerk, can we take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Terrific. Okay, we're now at business items. Item 5 is the award of contract to SoCal Pacific Construction Corps, DBA National Coating and Lighting Company Incorporated for the PHWA .6 MG Reservoir Rehabilitation Project number WA 2025-07 in the amount of $575,335 and approve a 10% construction contingency of $57,533. Will staff please present the report?
Good afternoon, Chair Hernandez and PHWA board members. So this project is, before you is obviously the tank rehab contract award. This project was approved by the board earlier this year in June during the budget process. Just have a few slides here. Just want to give a quick overview. I know the board has heard about this project for months. Again, it's our 6,000 gallon tank at the treatment plant facility on Perkins Road. Kind of what sparked this whole project, we did a dive inspection, which I shared at a meeting a few months back. They found a lot of corrosion, and just the coating was failing, and so this project needs to take place, staff felt, as soon as possible. So quick kind of high level scope of work. So they're gonna go in, they're gonna sandblast the exterior, interior, down to bare metal, and then they'll come in and make any repairs. They might find something after they sandblast. There could be some minor repairs. We're not expecting anything major at this point. And then after that, they'll go in and they'll coat the interior and exterior of the tank. And there's a picture there. The ladder you can see that's the interior ladder that will be replaced. Project schedule, we're hoping to kick this project off December 1st. We're hoping to have them on site mobilizing December 1st. And then hopefully a week later, they'll start construction. And then hopefully the project will close out, weather permitting, by the end of February or early March. So here, the staff's recommendation today is to award a construction contract to SoCal Pacific Construction Corp., doing business as National Coating and Lighting Company, Inc., for the 600,000 gallon reservoir rehabilitation project in the amount of $575,335. And then 2, authorize a 10% construction contingency in the amount of $57,335. And then also 3, authorize our executive director to execute all applicable documents. So with that, if there's any questions?
Any
Happy
questions?
to answer.
Yes, Member Lopez.
What was the initial budgeted dollar amount that going into this that we thought this was going to cost?
About $689,000 is what our engineering estimate was.
And so we forecasted this into the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, the money is in the budget. It was approved in June, and the money is in the account.
So I know we consented to this on number 4, and I was looking at the proposal, and it kind of ties into this because it's the inspection that goes along with the tank,
Correct.
The tank refurbishment, right? But there's a huge disparagement between the two bids. Like one was 51,000, and the other one was like 102,000. Like, why was there a huge variance?
I don't know if it was because they're coming from out of town, if it was lodging or, I can't really tell you. I really don't. But CSI, the company we selected, very well respected. They've done hundreds of tanks. They've worked with our engineering team. So again, we feel very comfortable going with CSI. But why the other bid came in so high, I can't really answer that question.
Is the
If I can just add, in Oh, sorry, my button's not working. Dennis and his team are definitely more well-versed on these bids, but just from prior experience going out to bid, there could be a bunch of reasons why the variance is so big, which is why we typically go through that process and make sure we get a minimum of 3 bids, because you can see them range. But it can even just be something like they have another project that month and they don't really want to do the extra project, so they'll bid high. And then another company has an opening that month and they'll bid low. You know, it could just be something like that. But we have, I would say, Dennis can tell me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed on recent bids, we are seeing big variations of just one company will be half of what another company's bidding on the same job. And I think even on this this particular one, I think there was a bid over $1 million, right?
Correct, on the construction bids,
Right.
yes.
So we're seeing that, but it's just another reason why it's good that we go through the process to get multiple bids.
So what's, once the repair is complete, internal, external, what are we, how many years are we anticipating?
So the
Service
last tank rehab was done in 2013. So I would say 10 to 12 years I would hope to get. I would like to get 12 years. I think that's kind of average.
What was the repair 10, 12 years ago, was it as extensive as it is now?
It was, and there were some issues with the adhesion. So that project was delayed, and at the time, I don't know if there was an inspector on site, but there was some issues, and that's kind of more reason why staff wants to have an inspector on site. It's normal business to have an inspector, but I know back in 2013 there were some adhesive issues with the project. Yes.
So knowing that we are going to do maintenance on our tank, and so we're gonna just be pumping water now, since we don't have a storage tank, right?
Correct. So we'll
And-
be
Go ahead.
go ahead.
So the difference between the storage tank and now we're gonna actually have to use our pumps to pump on demand, right? Is that?
No. So all the water now, so the treatment plant will be offline completely. So we'll be receiving water from United Water. It comes down Pleasant Valley Road. We have a connection right before you go into the naval base there. So when we shut the treatment plant off, we turn off Cayugas, it will open up automatically and feed the city, the beach district, and the Navy, just like normal operations. So I've met with United, they're aware of it. They're coming out in a couple of weeks to meet with us again. And but we've been on bypass before. We were on it a few weeks back, just for a few days. We just have that valve, that clay valve, which controls the flow during this time, just had it serviced. So we're ready to go. And staff's recommendation was to go on United 100%. If we were to go on Cayugas, it'd be a lot more costly for this 3-month duration.
Are we anticipating like a pressure differential?
No, same pressure.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, when Mark Watkins was your Public Works Director, he invited members of the council to go on a tour. Dennis, I think you were part of that also, and walked us through the water plant. And if you have an interest, you might want to ask for a tour. It really helps better understand the inner workings of the water and the tank and everything else. So, and I had some of the same questions, but we approved that item, so I decided to move on. But
Okay.
yeah, I question the disparity too, but I guess that happens. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, I wanted to thank you for putting together 2 really good staff reports, and including the scope of work and in the second report that we're talking about right now, very complete and very thorough with all the supporting data and reports. So thank you very much for the good job.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have a recommendation to award the construction contract to SoCal Pacific Construction Corps, DBA National Coating and Lighting Company Incorporated, for the 0.6 million gallon reservoir rehabilitation project, number WA 25-07, in the amount of $575,335, and authorize a 10% construction contingency in the amount of $57,335, and authorize the executive director to execute all applicable documents. May I have a motion and a second?
So move to approve?
Second. Any discussion, any further discussion on this? Okay. Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call, please.
Okay.
Roll call vote?
Member LeBeau,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member McQueen-Lejeune,
Yes.
Vice Chair Thomas, and Chair Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Agency members' reports, comments, and requests for future agenda items. I'd like to remind agency members that all requested items will require a motion, a second, and a majority vote to be placed on a future agenda. Does anyone have any reports, comments, or requests for future agenda items? I have a question. We're going to be discussing requests for future agenda items in the city council. Do we have any plans to change the procedure for this body?
If the council approves a change to the procedure, we can discuss at the next meeting whether this board would want to adopt the same procedure.
Okay, very
So,
good.
but,
Thank-
we were gonna start with the council tonight. So.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. All right, the next regular meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 17th, 2025 at 4 p.m. I'd like to adjourn the meeting. The time is now 4:41.